Hey guys, so AOC restrained herself for as long as she could. She put out a very milquetoast statement on Charlie Kirk's assassination on X. You know, she didn't claim that the shooter was part of the MAGA gang or anything. But you know what? She doesn't have a late night talk show on the line, so you know, the consequences are less severe for her. But she did speak on the House floor because she was basically compelled to, because there was a resolution introduced to honor Charlie Kirk, and AOC and many Democrats voted against the resolution. So I want to take a look at her justifications for not voting for the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and still I rise, and I rise now to proudly yield time to a person with great honor and integrity, a member of this Congress who has been on the right side of righteousness, a member of this Congress who stands for those who are among the least, the last, and the lost. She hails from the 14th Congressional District in the great state of New York, the Honorable Ms. Ocasio-Cortez. I yield to her such time as she may consume.
I thank Gentleman Representative Green for his graciousness. Today, the Republican House majority brought to the floor a resolution honoring, quote, honoring the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's assassination was a horrific and vile attack and incident of political violence. And condemning the depravity of Kirk's brutal murder is a straightforward matter.
Well, she's already messed up because she hasn't specified what sort of political violence it is, which is actually pretty salient to the entire conversation, right? Because, you know, it seems to me, and it seems to a lot of other people on the right, that the violence has pretty much exclusively been targeted at people who are conservative, by people who are left-wing, often by people who have issues with, you know, their natal sex, who want to transition into the other sex. And you're not supposed to notice that. But anyhow, I like the frame that I paused on here. She sounds very scared. I don't know, she sounds very timid. Maybe she's doing that so, you know, it's harder to go after her in the comments section. I don't know.
One that is especially important to help stabilize an increasingly unsafe and volatile political environment where everyday people feel more at risk. We can deeply disagree and come together as a country to denounce the horror of this killing. And it is not a license for the abuse of power and whitewashing of American history. Today's resolution only underscores the majority's recklessness by choosing to author this condemnation and honoring on a purely partisan basis, instead of uniting Congress in this tragedy with one of the many bipartisan options to condemn political violence and Kirk's murder, as we did with the late Melissa Hortman. Instead of just doing what I wanted, you know, to my benefit, to the benefit of my political career and the optics for Democrats, Republicans are doing what they wanted with one of their own who was viciously assassinated. Yeah, you really got Republicans there, AOC. I really question what these people even do. Like, what is their function? Are they just there to bloviate for Forbes breaking news? I don't know. That's my that's my impression of AOC, at least. I don't know. I mean, I guess she also, you know, has a busy roster crying at the border and finishing what Marx couldn't finish in his lifetime, so maybe I'm being too harsh. The majority proceeded with a resolution that brings great pain to the millions of Americans who endured segregation, Jim Crow, and the legacy of bigotry today. We should be clear about who Charlie Kirk was. A man who believed that the Civil Rights Act that granted Black Americans the right to vote was a mistake, who after the violent attack on Paul Pelosi claimed that, quote, some amazing patriot, unquote, should bail out his brutal assailant, and accused Jews of controlling, quote, not just the colleges, it's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it, unquote. His rhetoric.
There are a lot of lines of attack for Charlie Kirk, and AOC is trying out all of them. It is so bizarre to spin him as an anti-Semite, and that's something that I will say I did not see coming. I think Charlie Kirk was extremely forthcoming about his support for Israel, although I guess that's also a topic of debate now. As for the other, allegations of emotional harm, I mean, maybe, but if your feelings are hurt by a podcast or a guy going on college campuses and talking with people and saying, hey, I think this piece of legislation was bad, has led to a lot of bad consequences, then I don't really know what to tell you. I mean, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a disaster, and Charlie Kirk was not advocating, to strip Black people of their right to vote. But I think what a lot of people are concerned about with that act is that it strips people of their freedom of association, right? So it's a precursor to saying things like, hey, if a gay couple asks you to bake a cake for their wedding, you have to do it. You could take it a step further. If a gay furry couple asks you to, draw a portrait for their wedding of them doing what gay furries do, then you would be compelled to do it. So frankly, I think it's frightening that AOC is supporting such gay furry antics, via extrapolation. Okay, I will clarify that I'm not actually accusing her of being involved in the furry community in any way. All right, let's continue.
Rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans, far from the working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, asserted by the majority in this resolution. It is equally important that Congress does unite to reject the government's attempt to weaponize this moment into an all-out assault on free speech across the country, all in the name of Charlie Kirk. President Trump and the FCC are now cynically threatening to shut down ABC and any outlets who give airtime to the administration's political critics. This is a disgusting attack on the American people and the very First Amendment rights that define us as a country. It is also the ABC Corporation's responsibility to refuse to embolden and participate in this corruption and escalation of censorship.
Well, I thought their responsibility was to make money and be profitable. So I was unaware of that additional responsibility. But no, we do have free speech. I'm not sure AOC has ever used it, for anything meaningful. For instance, when George Floyd died, when he overdosed on fentanyl, I don't think AOC ever talked about the drugs he was taking. I don't think AOC ever talked about his lengthy criminal record. In fact, I don't recall really any Democrats doing that. I do remember them taking a knee and watching as, some of their constituents burned down American cities. I remember them weaponizing that to defund the police and push a whole slew of other unrelated issues. But I guess everything comes back to structural racism, so it is related in their worldview in that way. But it's just so obvious at this point that Democrats really only care about you if you are a criminal, or if they can, spin you into a victim in some manner or another. So if you are Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the alleged MS-13 gang member, the man whose wife expressed grave fears that he would injure her again, that told the court that, he was domestically, physically abusing her. If you're that guy, then you arouse endless sympathy from Democrats. If you're just a hardworking, normal person with a family who believes normal things that normal people believed like 25 years ago, you are persona non grata. So the line has been drawn in the sand. I don't think anybody is buying this disingenuous, free speech warrior act that they're putting on. But it's shameless. It's almost like, admirably shameless in a way that they are pretending to care about this kind of stuff when all of their comments for the last 10 plus years are on the record. All right, so I will leave you with that. Let me know if you think AOC is pregnant in the comment section below. Didn't touch on that. Give this video a like, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.